Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'd like to start by saying I'm glad that President Biden is continuing the good work of President Trump to end the war in Afghanistan. There was a bipartisan consensus, a bipartisan majority on this committee regarding legislation that would have limited President Trump's effort to draw down troops in Afghanistan. And I'm grateful that President Biden appears to be going in a direction more aligned with President Trump than the majority of this committee. And while that may not seem particularly relevant to this discussion about the Western Hemisphere, it is. My community is home to the 7th Special Forces Group. They have as their principal area of responsibility Latin America, and yet they have seen frequent, persistent, bloody deployments to CENTCOM. And so I'm hopeful that under this announcement from President Biden, that they'll be able to get back to their good work in the area of responsibility that I think increasingly calls for our attention. Admiral Fowler, you mentioned the importance of our partner nations. And I want to talk about the methodology of that engagement. One theory of the case is we can always be sending our service members down to our partner nations for train and equip missions. The other theory of the case is that we can do more by bringing some of those partner forces here so that we can collaborate and train and build those capabilities. What's your assessment about the cost savings that could be realized if we did more of the train and equip work here in our country as opposed to down in the jungle?
The engagement with our partners is so critical, and 7th Special Forces Group is a professional team that's culturally aligned and engaged day to day in training and advising, not accompanying. It's appropriate for the progress we've made, and they're doing it professionally, right? And along with General Clark's focus on professionalism and doing the right thing. And so I think it's a mix. I think we've got to go to partner nation countries. Sometimes that can be very cost effective, and it really gains the cultural skills that our teams need. And then bringing our partners here gives them an appreciation. And as I've been to the 7th Special Forces Group headquarters, been there, and they appreciate that two-way exchange. We learn as much from our partners as they learn for us, and that persistent and episodic engagement with the Special Forces team, small teams, 3, 4, sometimes 7, is key to helping our partners build that capacity and securing our hemisphere, our home, and our neighborhood.
You mentioned that we cannot interdict our way out of these challenges in Latin America. I would suggest we also can't decapitate our way out of them. As we take out leaders of some of these organizations, they seem to have quite capable human resources to be able to replenish that talent. And so it would seem that those partner capabilities are increasingly important. And it would also seem that we save a lot of money doing more and more of that here. And it has the added benefit of our service members being able to have their heads in beds at home, which I know increases their own morale and capability as well. I also wanted to ask about the Chinese Communist Party's investments in infrastructure in the Western Hemisphere. And Mr. Waltz went through those, and you busted the myth that this is purely economic. Could you talk about the infrastructure enhancements from the Chinese Communist Party that are most concerning to you?
Most concerning infrastructure enhancement and advancements are in space and intelligence assets. Would welcome a classified hearing at a future date on that. They are in IT and in the lack of civ-mil divide in how IT is viewed based on Chinese Communist Party law. Enhancements in port infrastructure, which could be easily scaled up, and we've seen how that has insidiously scaled up globally. And I think the world welcomes a fair competition and a fair access to the economic progress that we all need, but not an unfair one. And those advancements in cyber and IT.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful. One final question. ELN seems to be playing the Duque government and the Maduro government off of each other in some of the work that they're doing in the border region between Colombia and Venezuela. Any comment you would have about about how we ought to contextualize what ELN is currently doing?
I think the illegitimate Maduro government has synergy with the ELN and the FARC distance. They share a lot in common: no values, a lack of respect for human rights, and a brutality that is driving migration. I applaud the way President Duque and his Minister of Defense and team has responded to the challenge given the circumstances.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.